as time was going, you saw the flames coming up. That was awful scary. But it's something that you just don't want to see. As for me, the experience was bad. I've seen it. I've seen people come out of buildings that have been on fire, but I've not been as emotional as I am right now in talking about it.
Was a shocking scene. Flames racing through a massive long-term care complex housing 192 of society's most sick and vulnerable. The flames erupted after 9 a.m. Breakfast had already been served when the alarm sounded. The smoke forced a large-scale evacuation of hundreds of nearby homes and schools. People arrived wondering if their loved ones were still inside. They could only stare at the flames in the distance.
I had actually just returned from my break. It was 9:30. I had come onto the floor and the fire alarms went.
I first saw it on TV, actually, what was happening, and I was at home, and disbelief. I could not believe it was my Fairview Lodge that was on fire.
All I heard was, E-Wing is on fire. So I literally bolted down that way, and just in that short time, as soon as I got there, the halls were already black, filled with smoke.
So I ran to the area that the fire pull station was pulled, and immediately I was just confronted with thick black smoke.
As soon as they came out of the hall, they knew they had a working fire because they could see the smoke. The first-in captain upgraded the alarms right away. We had depleted what we had in Whitby almost immediately. And then from there, we went into our mutual aid, where we brought in other fire departments from around the region to help us, which would have been supplying more equipment and more manpower.
So yeah, it was kind of like, oh my God, this is really happening.
And weirdly enough, the police were blocking off the entrance. But when I said I worked at Fairview Lodge, I said, please go down and help as much as you can. I was assuming at that time, everyone evacuated, but I did come, I would say, a quarter of the way through the evacuation, so I was able to help evacuate people from the premises.
The main focus was getting the residents safe. And I think all fear goes away when that happens.
I returned to the area where the fire was and just assisted the staff that were bringing residents out of the area.
You saw almost like kids going to school, a line of people just bringing wheelchairs down, helping people with walkers across the street.
You kind of ran through the halls with your hands because you couldn't really see. So you're touching for residents.
And when it comes to evacuating, you do it the quickest and safest way possible.
Got to one door and I looked in the window. The door was shut, looked in the window, and there's a resident in there. So another staff and myself tried to open the door, wouldn't open up. So we had to put our shoulders into it a few times, and then it popped open to get the resident out.
The special moves they did to get people who can't walk from the bed using the blanket procedure to get them off and get them out of the premises. Those things I could credit to the training. There's the only thing that could be said for that.
And just lift them out of the bed and put them in the chair. If they get a cut, they get a cut, but nobody even got a cut. You just do it as fast as possible, and it's amazing how quickly we got everybody out.
With whether they were wheelchairs, or whether they were walking, or whether they were in bed and couldn't get up. I'm telling you, they were marvelous. They're the ones that saved us all.
I bet you it took them less than 2 minutes to get us out. They risked their life to save ours. I mean, they were right there, bang, out.
We had extensive fire drills that was demanded by the fire department. We, as staff, we dreaded them. We had them probably about 3 times a week. We're having them because we had to evacuate the whole building or evacuate wings, and staff dreaded it. They dreaded it. Ironically, I think that's what happened that day. It kicked in. Everybody just knew exactly what to do.
I think the more training you have, when it actually happens, it just kicks in. So there was no guessing of, oh my God, what are we going to do now? We just did it.
Listen to your training. Pay attention in your training. never assume that it will never happen.
I think I would credit, well, definitely our training from fire drills, etc.
And you are responsible for those residents, right? They count on you to help them out and to look after them. So paying attention to what you are taught, knowing your responsibilities and knowing what to do is the key thing.
My advice is that you react quickly, you respond. Your first priority is the residents.
Nobody died and nobody got hurt. That was the big one. The building can be replaced, as it has been, with a much better building. But once you lose a life in a fire, you'll never get it back.
There were some unsung heroes that people don't really talk about. When you really reflect on that day and you saw what people were doing, putting their own lives in danger, you hear stories of people going back to make sure every room was evacuated at the risk of their own lives. They never thought about their lives at the time.
It was the most emotional day for me.
I'm proud of how our team came together. Fairview staff was always more family to begin with from the other homes that I worked in. So it was a tight knit, but that day, pulling together, that's probably what I'm most proud of.
If it wasn't for the staff, I don't think half of the people would be here.
This, for me, is my home away from home, but the staff is great. Can't complain about nothing. Honest to God. They're great.